So quick bike check. I got this bike for the weekend, kind of a few days. It's the 2019 Commencal Meta TR. It's jacked up to 160 from 140 at the front, and it came with a longer stroke shock. He described it as a bit of an Easter egg. So 143 millimeters of travel, out above the standard 130. So a little bit more heavy duty, a little bit more chargy, and it's definitely chargy. So I rode it today. Still got a little bit of work to do on it. The fork, like I said, 160, and he's gone the C1 Debonair spring, which, playing with it today, I don't think it's as good as the C2. It's not as perfect as the C2, I don't think. He's got the Sam Hill Enduro pedals, which are killer. Missing a couple of pins, but I'll fix that up. NX drivetrain. The NX drivetrain, I think, just takes... I don't think the springs are strong, so it's a little harder to get off the first to the second gear. I've put a new cable and outer in it, so it's running crisp outside of that. But first to second is just not... It's not like the GX or the XO. Yeah, but it's cool. It's cool. Spank wheels. Spank hubs, as far as I know as well. They feel pretty good. 30 mil internal or 30.6 or something. Feel strong. Full 29er. Gumex on the front instead of the Magix. Felt a little bit more grippy on the front, I'll be honest. It felt a little bit softer and a little bit friendlier, but also a little bit on the hard pack fast turns. It felt a little bit like a it kind of just they kind of fold in a little, fold over a little bit. But I got used to it real quick, and they were hooking up. They were good. It's killer. What can I say? Doesn't feel super heavy. Full 29er. Relatively long chain stays. I'll check the numbers, and when I do a full review of it, I'll give you the update on the numbers. Obviously, the geo's changed a little bit because of the longer fork, so nice and slack. But first impressions today, it was so much fun. It took me a long time to get it dialed, so I come in with 2 spacers in the rear shock, and it was a bit choppy, and I thought I'll go 1 spacer to start with, see how it goes. 1 spacer, a little bit more pressure, more choppy, wasn't really what I needed, so I went 3 spacers and a little bit less sag, a little bit less pressure, a little bit more sag. Right on 30%, maybe ever so slightly 31%. It was killer. It was so much more calm at the back. It was contained and fast. I could throw it pretty hard into more or less anything. The only thing letting me down was this fork. So it's the pike. I feel like with this C3 spring, I've taken the token out, so there's no token in there now. It had 1 token originally. So with no token, it still feels like I need to take another token out. So soft off the top, rough down the bottom. Go a little bit less pressure, real soft off the top, so it wanders a little bit. It's not as direct and easy to control. I've dialed that in a little bit with low speed compression, so that wandering point I've kind of dealt with, gone, yeah, alright, I can run a little bit softer. The bottom out force, the bottom out resistance is still there. I went through most of the travel, most runs, but definitely needed to add more low speed compression to deal with that wandering. It just doesn't feel right. And when you go deep into the hit, it kind of throws you back out of it. Choppy stuff, where you go, kind of smaller bumps into a harsher bump where you're turning as well. There's too much. It's too unsettled at the front, so I don't get that with the C2 set up right. So tomorrow I'm going to go the other direction. I'm going to go another spacer in the. I'm going to go a spacer in the fork and maybe 2 spacers in the fork, and see if I can. We'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens. But starters, first impressions, I'm not big on the C3. The C2 is definitely better. But the fork itself feels buttery. It feels smooth. It doesn't feel like it needs a service or anything like that. It feels really good. So tomorrow we're going to crack into it. Like I said, the Gumex feels better than the Magix in most conditions, but the Magix is definitely stronger. Stands up harder to hard riding. But it's just too firm a rubber. So if you like the Michelins, definitely try the Gumex on the front. I think it's a better tyre. I've got the Renthal Ultra Tacky grips, which are definitely ultra tacky. Diety bars. The Diety bars are a little bit stiff. Guide brakes, which are okay. A little bit contaminated on the back, but no biggie. I'll clean them up, and that should be biting pretty hard tomorrow. otherwise, it's cool. The KS Lev seat post needs a new cable as well, so I'll probably do that within this time. I might do that in the morning. 175 cranks, they're just horrible. That just sucks. If you got long cranks on your bike and you're not 7 feet tall, change them for sure. You'll definitely enjoy the cornering. You'll enjoy the sprinting out of corners. You'll even enjoy the climbs. Honestly, I prefer to climb a shorter crank as well. Even though they say more leverage or blah blah blah, but you're going into your inefficient zone because you're having to bend your legs much further. It doesn't seem like much. It's only 10 mil difference at each end, but it's definitely a big difference. So shorter cranks would be good. Otherwise, it does a little bit of it bucks you over the front a little bit. Slow the rebound down, it starts to feel dead. So you can't bring it back up to where it's active and it's killer. It still does that bucky, even with a little bit slower rebound. Just when it's deeper in the travel, if you're loading something up and you're going into that travel, it's got real fast. It's like the beginning stroke of the rebound is really overactive. It's overly fast. So I don't like that. But that might be a product of the suspension design. It might be a product of the shock tune. I'm not too sure. But I couldn't really tune out of it. But I got everything else more or less perfect outside of the fork. So we'll see how we go tomorrow. That's so far so good. And big shout out to the owner for letting me ride it. This thing's rad. Cheers, mate.